Hey, on this episode of the Event Collab podcast, we talk with Katie Fawkes, Director of Marketing for Ecamm Network, where she gets to work with live streamers and content creators all around the globe. Yep, let's jump into the episode.
Welcome to the Event Collab podcast, where we feature people in the event industry and beyond who collaborate to make events and human connections more memorable. In each episode, we interview a new guest who brings a refreshing perspective on live events and human connection related topics and technologies. Let's get started.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Event Collab podcast. I'm Chris. This is Mark. Mark, how you doing today, man?
Doing very, very, very good today, Chris. It's nice and warm outside, and I'm going to take this shirt off and go put on a cycling shirt and go ride. It's going to be great.
I was going to comment on the shirt, but you beat me there, man. That's like a good shirt on you, man. I like it.
Thank you. Well, as you know, I'm a big Formula One fan, and this is Erica got me this for Christmas this year. It's the Formula One team. I guess it's some Hawaiian special artistic shirt or something. So nice. Go Mercedes Formula One.
Nice. What'd you think about our conversation today with Katie?
Katie was so fun. Oh my gosh, is she fun. And for somebody who claims to have been as uncomfortable on camera as she was in the beginning, like having just met her, I didn't notice a lick of it. I didn't notice a bit of it. I also feel like she's in a good spot with the community inside of Ecamm and how she didn't build the community, but she's really helping foster how that community moves forward and supporting that community. She really seems to be in her element.
Yeah, so amazing. So let's jump into this episode. Hey, welcome back to the Event Collab podcast. I'm not going to forget this time. I'm going to say, Mark, how are you doing today?
Oh, nice. I'm doing very well. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you asking.
And today we have Katie with us. Katie, how are you today?
I'm doing great today. It's sunny out here in Boston. I could not possibly be happier.
Nice. Look, I was about to ask. You said out here. I was like, I can't remember. Is she West Coast? Because the sunny thing usually comes West Coast.
No, see, but East Coasters, we appreciate the sun a whole lot more because we don't get a lot of it here in Boston.
Sweet. So real quick for our audience, just tell them who you are, kind of what you do, what you got going on right now.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Fawkes. I'm the Director of Marketing at Ecamm Network. We make a top-selling live streaming and video production and podcasting software for Mac users. And I'm just excited to be here.
So, Katie, how did you get to Ecamm?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. My background is in content marketing. I actually started off in copywriting. I was the person, you can probably identify me in any major corporation or office where someone was like, we're going to shoot a video of so-and-so thing. I was the one who'd be like, I'm just going to look down. I have an appointment. I got to get out of here. I was just absolutely horrified at the idea of being on video. I knew we needed to get into live streaming. I was like, nope, going to ignore that. I'm a behind the scenes copywriter. I can blog, I can write, I can schedule all of our social posts, but I definitely didn't want to get into video. But flash forward years later, one of our really close friends owns this company, Ecamm, and they were looking for a marketing person. And I just was looking for a change in my life. I really wanted a more flexible, kind of fun job that I really could feel a lot of ownership over. So it just was a really great fit for me, but it forced me into this space that I had been avoiding for so very long. So it was a fun experience and certainly a huge learning experience, but hilariously ironic that I was like, I really want this job. I really don't want to be on camera. I really just want to be behind the scenes.
So how did you work out in your head going from like, I want to be the person in the back to now I sort of have to be one of the people in the front?
Trial by fire. I really just forced myself to do it. And I know that neither of you know a ton necessarily about Ecamm or any of the listeners out there, but we have just an absolutely incredible community of users, and our members run the gamut from, we have teachers, we have musicians, we have magicians, we have marketing professionals and content creators across like every possible background. And they just showed up as cheerleaders every time. I tried to be as honest as I could as I was kind of working my way through it, and, saying that I was certainly nervous and kind of making adjustments and forcing myself to be on camera. And they would cheer me on. They'd be like, "Oh, you want to turn your mic up a little bit? Like, that background looks awesome, Katie." And they would just show up for every stream. And it gave me a ton of confidence. And it started making it less scary and more fun to be in front of the camera, because it really felt in many ways like I was hanging out with friends, or, I was there serving a greater purpose than the amount of fear that I had. I was out there to, help people, to walk people through things, to be able to answer questions. And it became really valuable and really fun, but I got by with help from the Ecamm fam, as we call them.
Yeah, that's so good. And so that's one of the things I noticed. I honestly didn't know, because I've seen you in Ecamm, right? Like, that's where I've seen you. That's where I knew you from.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know you had like such a heavy marketing background. I was like, I didn't know that was where you came from. So like, what was your experience just in video production or any kind of event stuff before this? Is this kind of your first foray at all of that, or?
That's a great question. It's definitely my first foray into video production. I've been forced on camera. I've definitely done a lot of presenting and speaking at events. So it's not that I'm not comfortable on stage or, working at events in booths and places like that. But it was definitely my first foray into really being actively on camera and running the production at the same time, which is certainly a different space. And Ecamm, we run our own virtual summit every year called Leap into Livestreaming Bootcamp, and that was my first year running that and kind of going through all the steps of what a virtual summit or what a virtual conference can be like and feel like, and how we want that to work.
So, as the live event space evolved for you, how did you help Ecamm take advantage of all the opportunities that came their way?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question.
Or maybe how do you continue to do it?
Well, when I first joined the Ecamm team, there was no marketing. So there were three existing employees, our two co-founders and developers, and then Midori, who runs our customer support group. And at the time, it was just her doing customer support. So I really I built everything from the ground up and was able to take an existing fan base, so an existing customer base, but really build it into a community. So we have a Facebook group of just over 20,000 active members, which is an awesome space to jump into if you want to learn more, have your own support system. And, really, again, it came down to them. Like, the more time we spent in that group and, listening to their feedback and their feature requests and the challenges and the wins that they were having, we were like, you know what, we're building this tool. It's helping people. It's making a really big difference in building, connections and community and giving people a voice, whether they're doing it as a hobby or, or on a professional level. So we just started showing up more on camera. I started doing more streams. Our co-founders do now a monthly Q&A where they take feature requests and they just laugh their way through and talk, about what's upcoming in the app. So our virtual event really grew from there and built out of there, where, the more that we were in front of the camera, the more we realized what would be most beneficial. And so we started doing more, workshops and mini series and regular live shows that were geared towards different niches. But yeah, we're really customer focused, and we're trying to be as helpful as possible in the spaces where we can help our members succeed.
So, Chris, that marketing story she's telling kind of sounds similar, doesn't it?
It does sound very similar.
I love it.
So one of the things I love in this, and honestly, this is kind of how we're even here on this podcast, right? Is because I kind of bullied Mark into saying, hey, you know what? We got to show up. We got to have more content.
Yeah.
Video is king, right?
Yep.
And so we're one step short. We're not live video right now. We're pre-recording, but.
Yep.
From your perspective, I mean, your experience in marketing with Ecamm, like live video, how could, say, event planners or organizers, aside from the event itself, right? We understand they can live stream.
Yep.
How can they use it for their business to actually grow?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I mean, there are a couple of different things that you can do. So if you've never touched live streaming at all and you're trying to, whether it's grow a business or even like promote and build a following or a community around an event, it's great to start even just like we did with a Facebook group where people can start, asking questions and networking and getting to know each other better, start live streaming into that group. Give it a chance to be time that you're spending in front of your people. So whether that's something as simple as bringing some of them on and doing, case studies or interviews, or maybe it's just like a fireside chat or open Q&A, to just use live video as an opportunity to get real and to get authentic in front of your people, rather than something that's more heavily produced or polished. So that's one side of it. The other thing that I am a big believer in, and actually you're probably doing now, even though you're not live streaming, is this entire live to tape, or starting off with live video being the starting point for a full content workflow or a full content plan. So I would challenge, if you're a small team like us where, there's not a ton of people, but there's a ton of content and a ton of work to get done, we often will start with a live stream. We heavily research and we prep it. We have all of our graphics ready to go. We flow through it, but we always follow the same protocol. So, we open up our episode, we welcome everyone into the stream, we say hi to all of our people. Maybe we have a countdown timer. But then we jump into it, and we don't often put a lot of comments or interact with the audience when we're just getting into kind of the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about, what we're training on, what we're discussing. And then at the end, normally we have like our Q&A or our wrap up or our outro. We do that live. We engage and spend time with our live audience. So great, that's a win there. But then we're able to really easily, like, if I can do it, you can do it, trim the beginning and the end off that video. And then you have a produced video that then you can upload onto YouTube. You can share across all the different social channels. You can trim it up even into little, smaller sound bites. So that's your content there. If you get really smart, you can partner up with a tool like Descript, which I'm like a huge obsessed person about Descript. That'll give you the transcript, and that'll let you burn the captions right on. So, every video we do, I just drag and drop that into Descript, and then I have content for a blog post. So, then I have my live video, I have my recorded video, I have my clips, I have my transcript, I'm sending the captions back over to YouTube, so now it's more searchable and helpful for people that need to be able to read instead of listen. And then I'm working on my blog post. I'm embedding my video in. With Ecamm, you're also able to grab your audio files separate from your video files, so there's my podcast. So, really, as a pretty small team and, a little bit of planning up front, I don't have to do a lot of editing, but I can get that content out in the channels that matter to people in the way that they want to receive it. You podcast listeners want to listen? Great, I got you. Live viewers want to be there live asking questions? I got you too, but I'm only making the content the one time. So, you can get into a really great flow that way. So, again, it start small and get comfortable, and a Facebook group or a safe space like that is a great place to practice and to spend time with your audience. But if you're looking to really build a content plan around live streaming, that's a great way to go. And again, it could lead up to an event. It could, be part of an event. It could be post on the other side of an event. But it's a nice workflow to work your way through.
That's so good. Mark didn't know that I already knew that you would say all of these things. I really just brought it on just to throw it out there because I love content, and that's where
efficiencies. We're a team of three, and and we're big idea people, right? So we're like, we want to do this video and this video and this video and this. So yeah, if you're going to spend the time to do the work and, do it once and then get it out there in front of a bunch of different people, there's so many great tools out there that make it easy.
So absolutely. All right. So I have to admit, in the virtual hybrid event space, we use a competitor. I won't say their names.
You're good.
Right?
You're good. Get out of here. I can't talk to you anymore.
Like, don't run, please.
No.
So how do yourself and Ecamm, how do you feel like getting in front of, say, larger companies from an event standpoint, like becoming a major player, or is that not even your target audience? That's what I've always actually wondered.
Oh, that's a really great question. You know what? It's funny. We're a desktop app, and we are Mac specific. So we're in a very specific place and space and niche. Even and made even more specific that we're in the video and audio space as well. We definitely are in the event space, but I wouldn't really view, even you're like, we're using one of your competitors. great. Like I'm still actually using Ecamm to come into this broadcast to improve my video quality and have a lot more controls on my end. So I would say that you can use Ecamm with basically any video tool through our virtual camera and our virtual mic integration. So, if you're wanting to be able to level up your professionalism, you want to connect in, a couple of different cameras, you want to be able to drag and drop in a video clip or a PDF or your logo or like a dancing bunny GIF, make people laugh while you're doing an event. I think Ecamm lets you do a lot with your, with your camera, quote unquote, and you can use any tool that you're comfortable with. So I would almost say that we're not really competitive in that space. I think we're additive in that space where, we're never going to take out the Zooms of the world or the Hop-ins or the other huge event platforms. But I think that we bring a lot to the table for our members who want a little bit more control or want to be able to just do more with their video.
Yeah, so good, so good.
So on the, what other, based on what we're talking about now with Ecamm, what other fun things does Ecamm have in the hopper that you guys are working on that that you're going to bring into the future? Maybe one or two little things.
Oh gosh, you're going to get me into trouble. No, actually the timing is good because we just had our monthly Q&A like a couple weeks ago, and our co-founders like released a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, well, okay, I guess we're just going to publicly talk about this. So we're in a safe space here where I won't be in any trouble. Yeah. We are releasing version 4.0 later this year, and it'll go into, we have a beta testing group. So if you're like, oh, okay, I want to try some of these things, you can jump into our beta testing group and give them a try. We're getting pretty close to getting some of these features into beta testing. Video ISO is a big one, particularly for those that are in the podcasting space. So right now with Ecamm, you get whatever quality output you select, you get that recording automatically saved to your computer. You can also right now turn on just the audio, so you can get your video file and then each of your separate audio tracks. But as I'm sure is not surprising to you, sometimes you want your separate video tracks because you're bringing on multiple guests. So that's coming really soon. Multi-streaming, which has been just a huge ask from our users on the streaming side, is coming. Currently, you can use Ecamm to integrate directly into Restream, Switchboard Live, and OneStream, which are all multi-streaming tools, but we are building in our own native solution. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, a bunch of smaller things. We just rolled out our virtual microphone. So that's the ability to bring all your audio in from your computer through into like a Zoom meeting or an event platform. So you're likely to see a lot more integrations and kind of more connections with some of the bigger players in that space, because we are seeing a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm never going to live stream, but I really want to look good in my Zoom meetings and presentations, and I want to be able to run these events and have a lot more control. So we're doing a lot more in that space to really make sure that our members who aren't really caring what the live streaming options are still have a ton of functionality and control, and that it's really easy. So like right now it's pretty easy, but there's a little bit of a threshold to be like, okay, what is a virtual camera? Like you have to install it the first time, which is literally a push of a button. But some people, they're like, oh, I can't really wrap their heads around what that is or what that does. So making that experience a little bit more seamless is on the list too.
So one of the things I know is, again, the community. Honestly, the way I got in was the community is great. Like aside from all the softwares, that was it. Like all the software I use, like I haven't been in a community quite like Ecamm's community.
It's astounding in that place.
Second to none.
Yeah.
So in that, like I know you guys do the virtual events like the Leap and the Live. I know you guys do a lot of time with actually streaming shows and having a lot of online content.
Yep.
At this point, do you ever see having like in-person events, like some larger events, because of the size of your community? Because I know you go everywhere, but like an Ecamm event just seems like it's on the horizon, right?
We've been talking about it for a while. We played at it a little bit earlier this year. We were out in California at Social Media Marketing World, and rather than sponsor an exhibit at that event, which we've done for years now, we actually rented out our own space and we did a full like Ecamm meetup, and then we did a couple of days of smaller training and hands-on workshops, as well as just the ability to come in and play with our gear. So we brought like our own kind of portable studio with us. I think you'll see more of that as travel restrictions start phasing out and things just get a little bit safer as far as things go. We really would like to be, physically in a bunch of these different places, not only for our existing customers who it's just always fun to do meetups and spend time with them, but to give them also a chance to bring out their co-hosts and their contacts and their colleagues who, maybe want to be in this space, but are like, have a lot of questions about studio setups and gear and how you do it. And it is really, it's funny. It's in a virtual space, but a lot of it is so tactile. Like you're like, okay, like this mic cover is so cool. Or like, how are you connecting this in? How are you lighting the space? How are you doing that? A lot of that isn't the software, but that helps make the video production better and works really collaboratively with the software. So I think, having, our own kind of Ecamm event where we can bring out our experts in all of these different categories and just give a space where people can be like, come out and record your podcast, record your live show, hang out with us, learn a bit more about like what the experience feels like or what your studio can look like. We've gotten really good at that over the last few years, going to some of these smaller events and either streaming, the events for them. So we're the kind of like hybrid arm where we're catering to their virtual audience, or just, being in a booth environment where we're like, okay, well, if we're going to have a booth, we're going to make it into a studio. Here's what it's going to look like. I would like to. I think we're kind of working our way up to that, but we've definitely done some bigger meetups and some in-person workshops, and I think we'll kind of keep growing that to figure out whether or not that becomes like a full Ecamm event, or if that's more cities and smaller, like 1 day or 2 day pop-ups.
That's cool. So on this, I failed to actually write this question ahead of time because we're the Event Collab podcast, and we need to talk about collaboration. But you said it, and so I was like, can you touch on how, and I've seen this from afar, so I kind of know the answer, but I want to hear it.
Sure.
Is how collaboration works for you guys, because you said you're a small team, but the community is so much larger that it kind of helps where you don't have, like, how does the collaboration show up in that community for you?
Oh my gosh. It's essential. We would be completely lost without our people. It started for us really because our co-founders, who are not marketing people, forced themselves to go out to social media marketing world years before I joined the team. And they were like, all these people just kept coming up to us and they wanted to work with us. Really those conversations that they had there and the people who just loved the software and just really wanted to collaborate were really the reason that I have a job. They were like, we need a marketing person because we don't know what they're using words like collaborate and we don't know what that means. Like, we just need someone to help. So I was lucky to join a team and start a marketing department and a marketing role in the space where we had these influencers who had powerful platforms of their own and just wanted to collaborate with us. So the videos that you see now in the series that we're doing, even our Leap into Livestream bootcamp, a lot of that came from kind of our OG users who built their businesses on Ecamm and just want to work with us and continue to work with us. From there, obviously as we have this kind of network of experts who are constantly doing trainings and workshops and shows and courses, we've seen more and more members in our community who are newer, who have come forward and said like, hey, I built a Stream Deck course, or, that uses Ecamm and Stream Deck, or, I have like a mini community that are, Ecamm users, all in Spanish. Will you feature us? Will you showcase us? Will you and we've always been as supportive as we can be with that. We're trying to do more to be able to highlight all of the different spaces and places and courses and things that we know are a great resource and that we've vetted and that we believe in. So I think we collaborate on a number of different ways, whether it's, bigger projects, promo videos, or it's mini series, or it's workshops and courses, or any of our virtual events where, I'd much rather work with people who are actively using our software and who I know believe in it than people who have, gigantic platforms, but them talking about it isn't going to mean a lot to their customers because they don't believe in it, or they have barely used it.
Yeah, that's so good. Just like I said, being in the community and seeing that, because that's what drew me, was because the people in the community, the people that are teaching people about it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like any other software where people are just getting paid to talk about it or getting paid to, I got a course on this thing, right?
Yeah,
it was like, oh no, they're users, and they're and then they're giving away knowledge for free, and I'm like, what is this voodoo? Nothing's free, like, right?
Yeah, well, that is definitely what I walked into, where they were like, hey, like, we built this entire Ecamm, like, series of videos, and will you feature them? And I was like, okay, I'm sure, I'm glad to. So, yeah, I mean, those were we have a community that gives back, and I think it's because so many of our original members put that vibe out there, that as newer people are joining, there is this notion of, like, when you have a win, or when you've figured something out, or you've unlocked this, like, cool idea, or had a really big success in something, a lot of our members want to share that, or want to, like, walk through how they did it, because they're so proud of pulling it off, or about the difference that it's made. And it's just become a really great, I mean, every day that I'm in that space, I'm always like, oh, wow, okay, we have, like, a person that did a 24-hour fundraiser and raised some preposterous amount of money, or, did this, like, virtual magic show and like, had, thousands of people from around the world watching. It's amazing what people can do with video. It blows me away.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, Mark, I monopolized the night. These are actually the guys I already knew. I had all these questions ready to.
I figure I'd let the two marketing people talk, Chris.
Yeah,
this is more your wheelhouse than mine. Like you alluded to earlier, you drugged me into this. So
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad
you.
you're here. You feel free to ask me whatever you want.
Oh, well, good. So now that you've said that, so we have some rapid fire questions that we generally ask about this time of the podcast.
I'm super bad at rapid fire questions, but I'll do my best. I always, like, panic and answer ridiculously. So here we go.
Oh, well, the first one's like multiple choice, but you'll probably make up an answer now that I'm sitting here thinking about it.
Sure,
so,
probably.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, see? You got the first one out of the way. That was easy.
Absolutely. Totally addicted.
All right. This one's a bit more multiple choice. Favorite mobile phone app?
Oh, favorite mobile phone app. Oh, no. Well, work-wise, I'm going to say Camo, because it lets me use my phone as a camera, and that's taken me out of a number of binds where I'm like, uh-oh, forgot a battery or something, horrible has happened. But, like, on the personal side, I don't know. I tend to watch a lot of TV on my phone, so it's probably like Netflix or Hulu or one of those apps.
Nice. What's one question that you wish people would ask you, or something like we didn't even think to ask you on this podcast?
Oh my goodness. Oh no. This is one of those ones where it's, like, hard and I should be brilliant and I don't have a great answer. What should people ask me? I don't know. I mean, usually I would say something about, like, how I got started, or, how I feel this confident now. But I think we did cover that. That's usually my go-to, because I feel like a lot. The one thing I will say about video and especially live streaming is that it's so public, but we only usually see everyone's, like, best streams. Like, you look at someone and you're like, wow, their video quality looks great, or they sound really confident on camera. Rarely do you see, like, the first stream that they've done, or, like, the one where, like, all of the lights went out, or the internet died, or they're, like, the cat knocked over their camera, or all the other
rings right
yeah,
before you're going to start recording.
Or the 10 minutes of, like, just, like, dry heaving panic that I feel before I walk on. And I'm like, great to be here. Like, all of those things that I'm often talking with people about, whether it's at an event or on a stream, where I was there. I was the person who in 2 jobs before this one, I had to record internal training videos. Super low, like, risk, right? Only going to the internal company, my own team, internal training. And it took me 400 takes until they were like, we'll just do these as audio. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Because I couldn't get past my own feelings and my panic and trying to be perfect with it. And I think on the video side, one thing that's really amazing about live streaming is that it's done. It's okay if it's not perfect. People don't want it to be perfect. People want it to be real, and they want to get to know you better, and they want to feel like they can see some of those imperfections, because then you're more believable and you're more trustworthy than if it's heavily polished. So
that's one of the things Chris has to help me with.
It.
Yeah, Chris always tells me outside, he's like, Mark, just let it happen.
Tone it down a bit. Tone it down.
Just let it happen. Right.
Look, I have to pretend that we're live right now for it to actually feel okay. Like I hate pre-recording.
Yes.
So in my head, we're live. Like there's 100 people watching, and so when I mess up, it's colossal, and it doesn't matter because it's already done.
Yeah, I need to at some point. It's been like on my list for forever now too. I did this. I did this presentation for Agorapulse, the social media tool. They did a virtual event. And they always ask me to speak, which is super kind of them. but it's always recorded videos. And I record these things. It's a preposterous amount of time. Like I have like an intro memorized. I'm literally just saying who I am. I'm like, hi, everyone. I'm Katie Fawkes, and I'm the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, done, I can't do this. And then I hit stop. I do that 35 or 40 times. And at some point, I'm just going to release those videos as like I've been there, because it's comical how ridiculous it is. And yet, every time I do the same thing. As soon as I can get past that intro and like the feeling that I'm going to screw up in that intro, I'm usually okay. But it's literally like information that I should know. My name, what I do, and a hello to everyone. And I can't get those basic things out there, so...
I feel like we spend more time on the intro, like because we record it post, right? And we just spend more time on that than we actually spend having this conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like it's horrible.
Yep.
All right, you want me to do this one, Chris?
Yeah, that's you.
All right, great. I'm gonna throw another easy one. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Besides the Event Collab podcast, what's your favorite blog or podcast or book or ebook?
Do you want me to be honest and embarrassed?
Well, of course. I mean, since we're live, right?
Since we're live, my all-time favorite podcast is Morbid, a true crime podcast. And I listen to it obsessively. Like I'm like washing dishes and listening to like the nitty-gritty details of some serial killer just brutally massacring people. And I feel badly about it, but I just can't stop. I'm just completely obsessed with it. I should be doing like productive things with my time, and I'm not. I'm just 100% listening.
That's very juxtaposed to all the earrings that I see you wearing in all the other podcasts. I just want to say that. Right.
Yeah. I grew up in Canada, and I look very white bread, and I'm super cheerful and happy, and I'm just very into true crime and everything that I'm totally the typical cliche. Blogs, and what was the third one you said? Books?
Blogs or books?
I'm actually an English literature major, so I'm a huge geek for Jane Austen and Shakespeare, any of the classics really. And I actually volunteer on our library board, so I'm constantly reading, and I have a fairly varied background, but those are my go-to or back to. I also love like Agatha Christie, I guess murder mysteries to make me again way more cliched.
That's surprising, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, so what's? Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew we were in rapid fire, but I have to know how you get from English literature to marketing.
Well, English literature is like a degree that you get and then you just burn for warmth in the street because it's completely useless as far as things go. It's like, I love books, but I don't want to be a teacher. And they're like, oh, what about a journalist? I'm like, not really, no. So it translated for me into copywriting and writing for product descriptions for catalogs, and then that forayed into the internet, and social media became much more of a thing, and it became it went from there to writing social copy and social posts into just general marketing. But yeah, I know it's a bit of a weird path. Yeah,
just had to know. I had to know. All right, Mark, continue.
All right, what's your favorite city to work in?
Oh gosh, my favorite city to work in. I mean, if I could pick, I would be in Hawaii. But I don't know if I don't know if I've worked in that many different cities to have that as an answer. Yeah.
Well, we could change it to favorite city to visit, and I'll say besides Hawaii, because that seemed too easy.
That's true. Fair enough. I mean, I love to travel. There's so many amazing locations. I loved Greece. It was I did a tour all across Greece, and I'm a huge history geek, so that was super exciting. And then, I mean, at Paris, which again is fairly cliched, but it was an awesome trip. And as far as American cities go, I'm a big fan of Austin, Texas. I mean, I love where I am. I love Boston because I grew up in Montreal, and it feels Boston and Montreal have the same kind of like no nonsense vibe where the people are like sports addicts and are very like gritty and hardworking and are not, you know, I don't know. You have to win them over. I like that. I like that about this city.
Oh, that's great.
So where do you think the industry will be in 3 years?
Oh my goodness, the event industry. Oh, so many changes. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to be in a space where hybrid events are actually a great experience for both audiences. I think we learned a lot during the pandemic about how to put on virtual events, and some people just got really, really talented at putting on really engaging and insightful and interesting virtual events. And I think people are fairly great at putting on in-person events, but I've been to a number of them where, you know, the virtual audience gets completely ignored, or, you know, like everyone's asking questions and the people on Facebook are like, hey, who's answering our questions? Or they've spent so much time trying to, you know, hire companies and teams to run and make an amazing virtual experience that the in-person experience suffers. So I'm hopeful that we'll find a way to be able to have these events and these experiences where there is a mix of both, because I think there are a lot of people that distance and travel costs and expenses aren't able to get to all these different events, but would go and would be able to contribute to the conversation and be part of that space. It would be really helpful. So, here's hoping. We'll see. We'll see. But that would be great if we could figure out how to do both of them well.
All right. So what was the best piece of advice that you were ever given?
Oh my gosh, the best piece of advice I've been ever given. Okay, well, on the career side, I would say apply anyway. I'm the person who I'm like, well, I read the job description and I check off 8 out of the 10 boxes, but these 2, I'm not quite there yet, and I just won't apply for the job, or I don't think that it's a good fit for me, and I think a lot of times, a lot of those job descriptions and a lot of those places are just trying to cast a wide net. And a lot of times I probably would have been a really good fit, and I missed an opportunity because I was, too worried that I wasn't a perfect fit. So I think that that one was a really good piece of advice. And then, I think all of the advice that I've gotten over the years about people and forming, connections and relationships has been hugely impactful. I've gotten where I am both personally and professional based on the networks and the communities that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. People who have gone to bat for me, or who have made great recommendations, or have been there when I've had a really difficult time. So, I think either of those, or a mix of both, somewhere in between.
So, what does collaboration mean to you?
Oh my goodness, what does collaboration mean to me? I think it comes down to forming a relationship and a partnership. I think it needs to be mutually beneficial, and it needs to be something where it is the start of something long term. I think the times where we've collaborated best have been those where, one or both parties has had a really great idea and has immediately thought of the other, and we've been able to build off of it in a way that makes both parties feel really excited to work together. And even if it's a smaller project, it usually that project's success leads to another project and another project. The great collaborations are ones where it's something where you just feel like you're part of each other's teams, even if you're not constantly on the same team all the time.
Yeah, and everybody's looking at the same long-term target or the same long-term goal, and they don't really get mired around in the details or the little problems that come up just getting there. Yeah, they just work through them.
Exactly.
So it's been so good. I enjoyed this conversation.
This is really fun.
Ooh, so fun.
Tell the people, where can they connect with you, find you, learn more about you? I think you had a little special something for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me in and on all of the Ecamm channels. So it's ECAMM. We're either Ecamm Live or Ecamm Network on basically any channel. You can find me active in the Ecamm community, which is on Facebook. It's open to everyone. So if you're like, I don't care for Ecamm, but I want to hang out with streamers and content creators and event producers, come hang out with us. On the personal side, I have, my last name is Fawkes, like the Phoenix from Harry Potter, or a weird British spelling of the word Fawkes. But you can fairly easily find me. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and even though my Facebook account is my personal one, I'm usually pretty good about adding people on if you want to see chickens and my kids mixed in with live events and other things.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We thank you for all the transparency. I know it was some good stuff. I don't think she gave away any secrets. Did
no, I was good. I was good. I'm not going to get in trouble.
For another 20 minutes and get some?
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep hanging out until I get in trouble.
We'll do better next time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you tried. You have to try again another time.
All right.
Sweet. Thanks for so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks for joining us today on the Event Collab podcast. Remember, competition makes us become the best version of ourselves, and collaboration makes it better for all of us. We'll see you in the next episode.